Coming up on AgweekTV, Congress returns to work and looks for a compromise on coronavirus relief.
Can North Dakota farmers have their corn and their cover crop too?
And we'll look at the rise in the illegal practice of brown bagging seed and what the costs are. Welcome to AgweekTV. I'm Michelle Rook. Congress returned from the summer recess this week and is in a mad dash to pass a budget extension and find a compromise on a coronavirus relief bill. However, Senate Republicans and Democrats remain far apart on the level of spending in the bill. The House passed the HEROES Act before the recess with $30 billion for agriculture, while the Senate version has around $20 billion, plus USDA has the additional $14 billion of CCC money on top of that.
Whatever USDA needs, we'll try and find it for them. And we've been working closely with them and talking to Secretary Perdue and his team about what they think we're going to need to do, not only to help the livestock producers who weren't able to market their cattle before April 15th, and then also for the 2020 crop year.
Thune says Congress also gave USDA and Ag Secretary Perdue authority to provide payments to the processing sector, and that included the ethanol industry. Due to COVID losses, the National and State Pork Producers Associations have also asked USDA's Federal Crop Insurance Corporation to implement enhancements to the Livestock Risk Protection Insurance Program. The changes would aim to mitigate the impact of unexpected declines in hog values from events like the pandemic. They're asking for an expansion of insurance coverage, including the number of head covered and the coverage period.
The amount of time, it used to be a 26-week program. Now we're trying to get it out to the 52 or longer because of the time frame that we're generally working with.
They also asked for an increased subsidy to make the program more affordable. Ethanol industry groups welcomed reports this week that President Trump has directed the Environmental Protection Agency to reject dozens of so-called gap year small refinery exemption petitions. Those were intended to circumvent the 10th Circuit Court decision. The groups also rejected a last-minute request filed September 4th for the U.S. Supreme Court to review that ruling, which overturned 3 improperly granted SREs. In the wake of the decision, small refiners flooded EPA with 67 petitions for retroactive waivers, some dating as far back as 2011. Palmer amaranth is being discovered in more areas of the region. Recently, it was confirmed in 3 more eastern North Dakota counties, bringing the total cases this summer to 4. It's now been confirmed in 12 counties statewide since 2018. Palmer is considered by some as the most dangerous weed in America. It's a fast-growing, prolific seed-producing weed that's highly invasive and herbicide-resistant, so it can dramatically cut crop yields. It easily is spread through contaminated seed mixes, equipment movement, animal feed, and via wild birds. Producers should monitor their fields and clean debris off equipment. Farmers planting small grains or cover crops this fall need to make sure they're planting legal seed varieties. Brown bagging, or the illegal planting of non-certified public varieties, has been on the rise, and the seed is being sold by individuals and elevators. I looked at the cost associated with this practice. Jesse Hall is a certified seed dealer and says the illegal planting of public varieties has become increasingly common.
Well, some people, they're brown bagging and trying to save a little bit of money.
The head of the South Dakota Crop Improvement Association says brown bagging has also increased with the interest in cover crops.
And what happens is they go to the local grain elevator and they want to buy oats to put in a cover crop. And if the elevator sells the oats to them for seeding purposes, that's an illegal sale.
It may not seem like a big deal, but the penalties for brown bagging can be high.
They can go to court and they can be in the millions. It really depends on how much is propagated, but it can be very, very serious.
The practice also puts breeding programs at land-grant universities at risk.
But one thing that you need to remember is that when you pay your royalties, that goes to fund our local breeding programs, and it's very important we keep them in the future in order to ensure, that we've got some good varieties, coming in the future years.
It takes about $1 million to develop and release a variety in about 10 to 12 years' time. So that's a big investment of time and money that we would like to see some of it come back to help keep those programs going.
However, farmers see many advantages from planting certified varieties and investing in research.
The breeding programs are more localized as well, so you have a higher probability of getting, varieties that are probably better adapted to your area.
Plus, there's a guarantee the seed is free of noxious weed seeds and is pure.
So we know that we are buying a given variety. We know that it can be ensured that it is that variety.
Farmers can plant their own bin-run seed, but if they buy seed, they should look at the seed tag to ensure it's certified. Farmers with cattle in the upper Midwest are increasingly trying wide-row corn, interseeded with crops and cover crops. The idea is to increase profits while helping the environment. Mikkel Pates has more in this week's AgWeek cover story.
The North Dakota Department of Environmental Quality is trying to help ranchers take the risk out of helping the environment.
I've been looking at this for a long time. I've done cover crops for several years.
Frank Walker, a retired veterinarian, has been farming and raising cattle in central North Dakota for nearly 40 years. He's part of a 3-year study and demonstration program to improve soil health and water quality by planting corn rows 60 inches apart with cover crops in between.
Good feed, and I think it supplemented with what's here, it'll make a big difference.
Walker hopes to harvest the corn for grain and leave the cover crop as a grazing paradise. So far, both the corn and forage are doing fine despite a somewhat dry season.
Cover crop is done very well and appears to be not really competitive to the corn. It may be beneficial in a sense of covering the ground with shade and eliminating the weed competition.
Shannon Anderson, the Eddy County Soil and Water Conservation District Manager, says she hopes farmers in the program see a new way to not only improve their land, but find a new way to produce feed for cattle or bison, and all with an eye to increasing the bottom line.
Each of the producers was pretty nervous when they started this grant this spring, but as the summer has progressed, they've gotten very knowledgeable and creative.
Jim Collins Jr. is a scientist with the State Department of Environmental Quality. He says in year 1 of the 3-year project, the early results look promising.
What we're going to be looking at is yield, inputs. If it doesn't pencil out, is it really worth doing?
Will corn grown in 60-inch rows for grain and grazing be a key to profitability in cover crops in North Dakota? We may know in a few years. For AgWeek, this is Mikkel Pates near New Rockford, North Dakota.
The Big Iron Farm Show is still a go despite the pandemic. Up next on AgweekTV, we'll tell you what changes you can expect.
When you think about it, productivity starts at planting. So it's time to rethink how productive your planter can be. We did with the new Case IH 2000 Series Early Riser Planter. We rethought your row unit so it's tougher, more accurate. We rethought your meter, took the most precise technology, factory installed it. We rethought every inch of the Case IH Early Riser Planter to make it the most productive planter around. And if you think about it, that's exactly what you want.
This is Dennis Beliski reminding you we do auctions and we do them well. You've built your operation with hard work, and when it's time to sell, all or part, you deserve the best. Details from repairs and preparation to promotion and settlements are not routine. Chances are you'll only do this once, so we'll tailor an auction just for you and get it done right. On-site at your farm or added to one of our highly successful Alaris Center auctions, we have the skill, reputation, and integrity to meet your needs with best-in-class commitment and quality service. Find us at resourceauction.com or call 701-757-4015.
Keep your equipment in the field when you need it most with parts from Titan Machinery. We carry a full line of high-quality Case IH parts designed for optimal performance and durability. We also carry alternative parts options at lower price points with rugged designs for a great mix of affordability and performance to fit a wide variety of makes and models. Contact your local Titan Machinery location today or shop online at www.titanmachinery.com. Titan Machinery, your local Case IH parts leader.
Advanced Grain Handling is your regional dealer for grain handler dryers, bins, and accessories. With Grain Handler's continuous mixed flow drying systems, you're capable of high levels of grain dryer efficiency on all types of grain, including seed grain. Advanced Grain Handling also carries West Steel's quality stainless steel products for on-farm and commercial grain storage solutions. Advanced Grain Handling has licensed and trained service techs and a licensed electrical shop. Get a hold of Chad Kylo to find the perfect solution for your farm.
The Big Iron Farm Show is marking a big anniversary this year, 40 years. Despite the pandemic, the show is going on in West Fargo, North Dakota. Jonathan Knutson talks to a driving force behind the show who's been there almost from the beginning.
It's pretty exciting, 40 years of farm show.
This is the Big Iron Farm Show's 40th year. We're here with a man who has spent 38 years with the show and currently is one of its leaders.
Big Iron is important. Big Iron is where you see the new innovative things that are going on.
Dave Gertz is chairman of the Big Iron Farm Show Committee. He's seen many advances in ag tech and equipment in nearly 4 decades at the show.
The changes that we saw in the first 20 years of my career versus the last 20 years or even the last 10 years have been by leaps and bounds. If it isn't at Big Iron, you don't need it.
But this year's pandemic is a big challenge. Gertz says organizers never considered canceling this year's event. That's partly because there's 3,500 acres to space out activities. Some big exhibitors are skipping this year and some social events were canceled. But they're following safety guidelines and encouraging everyone to wear masks.
We have to follow the rules so that we can make this show as big and better with the pandemic that we have going on in this country, that North Dakota is still a great place to be, and Big Iron is where you want to be.
Attendance will most likely be down. Normally about 60,000 to 70,000 people attend. This year about half that number is expected. But the show's long-term future remains bright, Gertz says. In West Fargo, this is Jonathan Knutson for AgWeek.
The Big Iron Show runs September 15th to the 17th at the Red River Valley Fairgrounds. Big Iron will look very different this year because of the pandemic, and it has a new manager at the helm. Cody Cashman took over as general manager of the Red River Valley Fair Association and Big Iron Farm Show in May. Cashman says Big Iron was a big factor in his decision to take this job, but he couldn't have anticipated the challenges he would face in his first few months on the job. Although the Red River Valley Fair was canceled, Cashman says they never really considered canceling Big Iron.
We felt that it was essential business, and so did the Ag Commissioner. And he felt that we needed to have it for the betterment of North Dakota and the farmers. And not just the farmers, the businesses that come and rely on Big Iron for sales.
Cashman says there is more interest in Big Iron this year from around the region since many other farm shows were canceled. Ahead on AgweekTV, we'll take you to our North Dakota winery that's developing grapes for this climate.
You can get the field results you want in varying conditions with the flexibility of the Summers VRT Renegade, featuring on-the-fly blight angle adjustment from 0 to 19 degrees. And if you want the simplicity of a super coulter with the ability to move a little dirt, you'll love the all-new Summers Super Coulter Samurai. Check out these products and others from North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing at Big Iron, September 15th through the 17th.
It's time for the Big Iron Farm Show, and that means it's time to check out the auctions at Steffes Group. You'll find great deals on farm equipment, land, real estate, houses, and personal property from our many locations in North Dakota, Minnesota, and Iowa. Check out our website for upcoming auctions or visit us at Big Iron Farm Show, booth C2. Steffes Group, selling land and the equipment to farm since 1960.
Luckin Trucks and Parts sells quality used parts for all makes and models. With over 50 acres of trucks and parts and new inventory arriving daily. Family owned and operated since 1966, Luckin's specializes in the sale of quality used medium to heavy duty truck parts as well as pre-owned trucks, trailers, and construction equipment. If it's on a truck, we got it. Call us today and let us get you your part.
At Superior Grain Equipment, we're committed to quality and service, offering you the best in grain storage and dryers for any size operation. Our experts will work with you to determine the most efficient and economical storage solution for your needs. We help protect your bottom line and your future with the industry's best bins and warranties. Make the superior choice for protection today and tomorrow with Superior Grain Equipment.
Go beyond the headlines with an AgWeek membership. Get in-depth agribusiness reporting, original farm and ranch stories, and fact-based research for the most comprehensive ag news in the upper Midwest. Experienced ag journalists bring you exclusive ag news, insights, and policy updates you won't find anywhere else. Become a member today and get unlimited access to AgWeek and AgweekTV.
The region had some rain and cold temperatures, even some frost this week. However, it looks like a more mild weather pattern ahead. Here's John with our Agri-Weather Outlook.
We're at that point in the fall where many areas of the north have already seen a first frost, and we'll see what impact that actually has. You may have noticed also the big storm that moved down the spine of the Rocky Mountains this past week. That has left behind a wake of some mountain snow. The cool weather lingers into the northern plains. We'll see how this moves forward over the next couple of weeks. Precipitation-wise, we're still definitely looking at dry weather over the mountains, California, the western states, and the focus for rainy weather is the south and the east, but it's not a real storm track. It's more scattered thunderstorms and thunder showers that are setting up in that region of the country. Jet stream is actually going back pretty far north once again. The really cool weather, temperatures, afternoon highs in the 40s or 30s, they're still pretty far north. The warm weather continues throughout the Intermountain West, and in particular the desert areas, central areas of Oregon, Washington. Of course, South Florida remains warm. Much of the southern part of the Corn Belt is still fairly warm as well, and the northern plains have some fairly warm weather. There's a little trough of low pressure that's going to gradually this week build into the middle of the country. Doesn't look like a big storm system at all, but it will reinforce the cool weather into the northern plains. It's also going to pull up a little bit of heat, just a modest adjustment. I don't really anticipate that this week you're going to see any dramatic changes of cold versus warm. But there may be a gradual warming of the eastern U.S. and gradually as the next storm system begins to build in over the weekend and into next week, you're going to see a cooling out in the Pacific Northwest. This little system may bring some light precipitation here to the northern plains before that enters into the eastern Canadian Maritimes. And over the course of that next week in September, we're talking pretty late in the month now, talking around the time of the autumnal equinox, you're going to see a bit of ridging taking place, which will help dig a low pressure trough, which basically means there's a chance of a storm system to come out into the Midwest. Does not at this point look like any type of a huge storm system. The general precipitation pattern for this next week, September 13th through 19th, mostly dry in the western half of the country. It is fairly wet in the western portion of Canada. And we're still seeing a lot of showers and thunderstorms across the southern and eastern parts of the country. Now, when I say dry, that does not mean there is no precipitation. It just means I don't expect to see anything terribly organized. For the second week, I do expect at least a chance sometime toward the 22nd, say through the 26th. There could be some kind of a wave coming out of the Rockies, which might initiate some precipitation. At this point, though, it does not look like any widespread rain or snow, but it might be cool enough if it does happen in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, or North Dakota. There could be a little snow. Eastern U.S. will continue wet.
Calcine is one of the most effective products at fixing salty, compact soils while reducing irrigation needs. When added to your fields with water, it moves salt out of the root zone, resulting in improved soil structure, better nutrient holding capacity, and less water dependence. Use it in problem areas or in-row to improve root systems. Calcine, creating healthier soil to increase crop productivity. To learn more, contact Jim Erickson at ECO.
2020 has started off where 2019 left off, with a lot of uncertainty and concern. Is your farming operation ready to take the volatility this year has to offer? Do you have a marketing plan in place to take advantage of opportunity? Are you finding it hard to separate the noise from the news? Talk to the professionals at Martins & Ag. We can help you make sound risk management decisions that will help your operation survive during these unusual times.
North Star Ag is proud to add some exciting new products to their lineup this summer, including Meyer Manufacturing forage boxes, Myers Equipment manure spreaders, H&S beet carts, and Summers Manufacturing land rollers and tillage. This August, North Star Ag will be moving to a convenient new location just off I-94 in Tower City, North Dakota. We look forward to seeing you there.
We're going to talk today about a revolutionary auto steer product that you guys have developed.
We back one of these things in, it'll drain a 40-acre patch just within hours.
What can you tell us about what dairy farmers do to make sure that their animals are happy?
Their care is our primary concern.
Is there still time for producers to get storage bins up?
Absolutely. We still can definitely get something up and ready for corn harvest.
AgweekTV Soy Insight, brought to you by the North Dakota Soybean Council.
Welcome back. Soybean harvest is about to get underway, but one soil expert says growers should be thinking about next year. NDSU's Dave Franzen says soil testing isn't something soybean growers have traditionally had to think about, but he says it's gotten more important in the last few years. He says farmers need to test to determine which fields will be best for soybean production and if there are any soil deficiencies to address to push yield potential. He says it's also important to check soil pH. If it's over 7, it can cause iron deficiency chlorosis. If it's below 5, those fields may need to be treated with lime. Growers also need to screen for salt and nitrates, as high levels can make IDC worse.
Farmers are used to soil testing before corn and soil testing before wheat, mostly for the nitrate, but they can't forget the soybeans either, because they need to screen the fields to make sure that they're going to make a profit next year, and they need to make sure they're going to get the best yield next year also, and the soil test will help them do that.
Franzen says most fields can be sampled after harvest, although he advises waiting until after the first killing frost on fields with cover crops. When you think of wine country, you probably think of California's Napa Valley. The cold climate of the upper Midwest has been considered too harsh for growing wine grapes, but new breeds are changing that. Emily Beal visited Bear Creek Winery, where they're working with university researchers to develop grapes for the region.
No, we're a complete winery here. We grow the grapes here, we ferment the grapes, and it's bottled here and it's served here.
Rod Ballinger grew up on a farm near Verona, North Dakota. But during his world travels as a military and commercial pilot, he developed a passion for wine.
I traveled all over the world pretty much, and to vineyards and wineries, and just fell in love and got a passion for that.
That led to an interest in winemaking and a new venture back in his home state. Ballinger and his wife Sue built the Bear Creek Winery barn just south of Fargo in 2000. They run it with their son. They breed hybrid grapes for this climate.
We can't grow traditional grapes here like Cabernet and those types of grapes because they're not cold hardy enough. They would die in the wintertime. So we have to have a system where we breed our own grapes or have breeders that breed for us.
We have 2,000 vines on the farm, and we have 800 Crimson Pearl. That's how much I like the grape.
Crimson Pearl is one of the varieties they're developing. Sean Ballinger is the vineyard manager and is training to take over someday the operation he has grown to love. And he says breeding the Crimson Pearl was a game changer for him.
I realized that we could grow a wine region here when I tasted that wine that was grown on our estate. And until then, I thought it was more of like a hobby that my parents were doing, and then I was like, I think we can do this here. You know, I think we can actually grow a wine region in North Dakota.
South of Fargo, North Dakota, this is Emily Beal for AgWeek.
The Ballingers chose not to open to the public this year because of COVID-19, but are taking reservations for private tasting for small groups. Still ahead on AgweekTV, a Minnesota company that grows greens indoors is poised for expansion.
It's time for the Big Iron Farm Show, and that means it's time to check out the auctions at Steffes Group. You'll find great deals on farm equipment, land, real estate, houses, and personal property from our many locations in North Dakota, Minnesota, and Iowa. Check out our website for upcoming auctions or visit us at Big Iron Farm Show, booth C2. Steffes Group, selling land and the equipment to farm since 1960.
Dynaflo is the ultimate high-volume water management pump. Whether you're experiencing flooding, emptying sloughs, transferring ponds, or working on irrigation, the Dynaflo pump works in as little as 18 inches of water and is designed to move 3,000 gallons per minute. The Dynaflo lift pump is the perfect upgrade to your drain tile system. Using line shaft turbine pump technology, these pumps are made to last while operating efficiently. Dynaflo drain tile pumps can move up to 1,500 gallons per minute, up to 3,400 feet away.
For AgWeek, this is Mikkel Pates at Watertown, South Dakota.
We'll look at the positive impacts that dairy can have on the community.
A Minnesota couple has put a grain bin to a new use. Spoiler alert, it's not grain.
This elaborate system of tubing with the downhill slope is how Maplewood State Park gathers sap to make syrup.
Thanks for joining us for this week's edition of AgWeek TV. Remember, for all your ag news, go to agweek.com or follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well.
Want total control of your crops, your business, and your future? Check out Total Ag Industries. We custom build fertilizer systems for the most precise and accurate applications. And our one-of-a-kind air induction turbo nozzle is not only the only triple spray pattern on the market, but it's also the longest lasting. Take control of your crops today. Visit totalag.com or see us at Big Iron.
AgWeek brings you timely agriculture news from field to fork in digital, print, and television. Fresh every week, join Jenny Schlecht from the AgWeek editorial team and me, Al Windmill, from the sales and marketing team for a deeper dive into farm and ranch stories, along with guest interviews with personalities from the world of agriculture. If you're involved in farming, ranching, or agribusiness, the AgWeek podcast is the show for you.
An indoor farm in southern Minnesota has some big plans. Living Greens Farms of Faribault is planning to expand across the country. CEO George Pastrana says the facility is considered a test farm. They've perfected an aeroponic vertical growing process that allows them to grow big, healthy greens without pesticides or herbicides. He says the company is ready to expand across the United States and has had a lot of attention from investors, especially since the pandemic.
I think the pandemic really brought to life the need for kind of a better supply chain, more consistent supply chain, controlled agriculture that doesn't have all of the problems of traditional agriculture with recalls.
We wanted to incorporate a farm that people could work from the floor and work the vertical farm without the use of ladders or staircases or cherry pickers, so the person can stay on the ground and work the farm completely from the safety of the floor.
Living Greens plans to break ground on a nationwide expansion late this year or early 2021. Thanks for watching this week's edition of AgWeek TV. Remember, for all your ag news, go to agweek.com or you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well. Have yourself a great and safe week.